Hey everybody, this is Amy Wells, Titans Amy from the Tennessee Titans.
This is Nate Bain, Titans social media manager.
Hey everybody, it's Rhett Bryan, game day host of Titans Radio, and you're listening to the Titans of the Southwest podcast with Lito and Big Mo.
All right, everybody, welcome into another episode of the Titans of the Southwest podcast. I'm your host today, Lito. With me, as always, is my partner, Big Mo. Today, we're going to cover a few things. We're going to preview the game in Miami versus the Dolphins season opener. We're going to also preview our time with a Titans fan, where we talked to a longtime follower, absolutely great person, and then we're going to actually answer the questions that were sent in with the hashtag Titans Southwest. So, but first things first, Mo, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited to get this episode going, our first regular season preview, the first of 16, hopefully more to come. But I'm really ready to get this going. I can't wait for Sunday. I got a lot of excitement about the game in Miami, a lot of positive vibes that I'm feeling. And I'm really excited to answer some of the questions that were submitted. I think we have about 5 or 6. I'm not too sure. Everybody that used the hashtag Titans Southwest, thank you for submitting your questions. Hopefully we get a few more each week. And I'm really excited to get to our 10 minutes with the Titans fan, the debut of that segment. So let's roll. Let's rock and roll.
All right, I'm ready. So we have week 1 in Miami versus the Dolphins. Obviously, we had we'll call it a bad experience versus them last season, but I blame that mostly on the refs and kind of on Castle. So I want to see what you're interested in, what you're looking forward to for this upcoming game. I know we got a lot of questions about this game, but just your initial reactions. What are you thinking? What are you on the lookout for?
Well, I think Miami is the perfect regular season opening opponent. I think that we all remember the nightmare that was last season in Miami. We were without Mariota. Castle threw a spiraling fumble 15 yards, which I still am scratching my head about. And that 14-point swing that ended up being the difference in the game, a game we lost by 6 points. So let's not dwell on that too much. I'm looking forward to the season opener on the road. Historically, on the road against the AFC East, we don't do that well. I'm hoping that the new offense will kind of change that.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, you're right. We should probably stop looking at the past for it. It's going to be interesting. I think that's one of my main things that I'm looking out for. I mean, defense, we have just the pure talent alone to kind of keep us afloat, or at least on paper, it seems like we should be fine, and that shouldn't be a huge issue, especially in the backfield and the front line. In the middle, I'm going to obviously be keeping an eye on Evans and how Jayon Brown and all of these guys actually mesh together. I'm not too worried about the defensive backfield or the defensive front. It's the offense. It's all about LaFleur's new offense, what he's going to unlock and show, and this is go time. This is an actual season game, so we're going to get a much better look than just the basics that we did in preseason. So that's what I'm mostly going to be focusing on.
Yeah, I think we got a small sample of what we can kind of expect to happen in terms of what little was showed offensively. I wrote a piece for Titans MCM kind of outlining what I'm expecting to see. I'm expecting to see offensively a lot of play action, a lot of bootlegs being incorporated into that, a lot of design runs for Mariota to keep the defense honest, a lot of screen plays. I'm expecting LaFleur to dial up some Mariota to Davis connections early, maybe on some bubble screens to kind of get their confidence going, get them into a rhythm. Hopefully the ground game can be established. Now, I wrote about this in the piece I published for MCM. Dion Lewis and Derrick Henry, they're both going to have to get it going on the ground. But even if they don't, that's okay, because for play action to be successful, you don't really have to gain tons and tons of yards on the ground. You just have to get the defense to bite. So even if the ground game is kind of stalling or appears to be ineffective early, the Titans have to commit to it, because eventually they're going to catch the Dolphins looking the other way, and then that could be the deep pass to Davis. That could be a big screen. A big play can happen by trying to establish the run.
Yeah, definitely. And we actually have a Titan Southwest question about that on this one, on that actual particular subject. But I think you're right. It's gonna be really, really interesting because we all know Dion Lewis is shifty and he can catch it out of the backfield. But one underrated thing about Derrick Henry is that he can also catch it out of the backfield, and they don't need to break off a whole lot of runs. They just need to really sell the run game in whatever way they can, and then play action pass, swing pass, whichever way they want to do it, and they're burned, they're gone. And I think you're right. It's going to be very unrobisky, and I can't wait. I really
Yeah,
can't.
2 seasons ago, man, against Miami, in Derrick Henry's rookie season, he had, I think, 7 carries for a little over 60 yards. I'd have to fact check it, but I think he went 7 for 60 some yards. You know, he had a pretty solid game, but he wasn't getting much touches because that was the year DeMarco Murray was having a sensational season. Last year against Miami, they only gave Henry the ball 4 times, and that's when Murray wasn't having a good season. You know, he was playing obviously hampered by an injury, but wasn't doing much of anything. Now, I think that was a terrible decision by Malarkey and Rubisky. I don't expect LaFleur to do that. I expect, we'll get into that with the Titans question later. We'll get more into detail on that because I got a good answer for that.
Okay, awesome.
I almost jumped the gun.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay, man. Is there anything else, any kind of players or positions that we're not going to cover on these questions that you maybe want to kind of highlight?
I guess in speaking on the Dolphins side of things, the Titans aren't favored by too much, which is surprising to me because apparently Tannehill coming back is going to make so much of a difference. Well, here's the facts. The last time Tannehill played Tennessee, he didn't throw a single touchdown, but he did throw 2 interceptions. And that's when our secondary, the best player was Jason McCourty, and his compliments were Damon Stafford, Parrish Cox. I mean, need I say more? That was the secondary that he played against, and he went 12 of 18, 191 yards with 2 picks. He also is playing us without Devontae Parker. We found out he was going to be unavailable for the game due to a broken hand or broken finger or something. And he also is not going to have Jarvis Landry there. Yes, he has Danny Amendola there to kind of produce, but either way, there's a lot of role players there and no obvious standout receiver that's going to really threaten the secondary that we have, at least on paper.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. There could be a surprise. There's always a surprise every single season, and with most teams have a surprise breakout player. So, But you're right. There's nobody in particular as of right now that we know we have to kind of scheme around at least. So
yeah, I mean, Kenny Stills, he can stretch the field. I think we have the manpower to kind of keep him in check. I know they drafted that, I'm going to mess up his name, Gillespie, something like that. He's their tight end. He's more of a receiving tight end. I know he'll get plays drawn up for him, but I think we have the backers to cover him. At least I know Jayon can cover him. Not so sure on Compton's side, but I think as long as we can keep their ground game in check. I know Kenyon Drake, he didn't start until like November of last year because he was playing behind Jay Ajayi for most of the season, but he still managed to put up like 600 some yards, 600 plus yards. But if we can keep him in check behind their patchy offensive line, and I mean, they got Frank Gore now, who was listed on the injury report for an Achilles injury, I believe. Last year with the Colts, he combined in 2 games for like 100 plus yards. If he's healthy, I mean, he could be a little bit dangerous. I'm not too worried about him because I think on the defensive side of the ball, we're okay. We are going to likely be without some of our starters. There's a chance neither of our first or second round players play. It's still uncertain as to whether Landry or Evans will be active on Sunday. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. I'll be keeping an eye on who the ones are on defense, particularly on the defensive line.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. That's another good thing to look out for. So, all right. Well, do you have a score prediction or any kind of prediction that you're realistically seeing happening?
Yes, I do. My prediction, if everything goes well, I'm saying we put up between 35 to 38 points offensively. Wow. Maybe some of those points come on special teams or a defensive score. But I'm putting us at 38, and I'm putting the Dolphins at 17.
Wow, so 38 to 17. I'd be okay with that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely be okay with that. Okay, cool.
What about you? Do you got a score prediction?
I was thinking more along the lines of, I'd say 24-14 us.
A little bit lower scoring,
A
but
little bit lower
still a
scoring.
double-digit win.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't know if we would completely light it up, but I do obviously see us scoring more points than we're accustomed to. We won't be kicking field goals at the end of every single drive or anything like that. But I do see us winning, and I do see us actually putting up more points than we normally do. So, yeah, I would say 24-14 pretty comfortably.
Yeah, we'll see where we're at next week when we do our recap episode. And my prediction, I tweeted it out there. No bias at all, of course.
No.
But I think we'll be first place in the AFC South after the first week. I think Houston's going to drop the season opener to New England. I think the Giants are barely going to edge out Jacksonville. And, I mean, that game could really go either way, but my guess is the home field advantage plays a part in that. And then I'm also picking the Bengals over the Colts. I just don't think the Colts are there yet, even with Andrew Luck coming back with his, with his health. I think he even injured his foot in the preseason now, so who knows if that guy will be all in one piece by the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't think Luck is completely back either, and that's just it's like my honest, unbiased opinion. Like, he's at this point, like, talent-wise, he seems like a serviceable quarterback, but not the Andrew Luck that we knew from before, and definitely not number one overall pick, Andrew Luck. So I'm not saying he'll stay like that the entire season, but I just don't think he's back to what he used to be. So
the thing is, bro, and I think you would agree with this, is rust coming back from injury is real. Like, we saw that with Mariota last year after having a phenomenal 2016 season. I mean, he didn't do the best. He threw more picks than touchdowns. I mean, there's a lot more meat to that to digest when you really dig into it. But at the same time, I think, you got Watson coming back from an injury. He's not going to scamper for 70 yards on the first play. You know what I mean? He's still got to find his groove. Their offensive line is probably one of the worst in the NFL. So let's see if he makes it through the season healthy. I think with Luck, I mean, he didn't play football for a full season. It's going to be a while for him to find his groove. And I mean, it's the Jags are the Jags.
That's the best way to put it right there. The Jags are going to jag.
Jags are going to jag.
Yep. I completely agree. All right, so we got a few questions, like we said earlier, from Twitter, the hashtag Titan Southwest. If you guys ever want to send us questions, we'll try and include as many of them as we can on our next episode. But I'll just kind of go, we'll just bounce off each other. Yeah, exactly. So let's see, the first one. Oh, I'm not going to know how to pronounce that name, so I'm going to leave that one for you. The first one that I could see that I can pronounce is from Richard at G_Titan. Says it may be too early to tell, but now that the roster is set, what do you see as what do you see as positions of strength and positions of weakness?
Okay, well, for that, I think in my opinion, one position of strength has to be the running backs. I think you look at Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis, you got two capable starting running backs, both with different skill sets, both with different styles that make them special. And it really does create a solid 1-2 punch. Now, you throw in David Fluellen, whether he'll be active or not on Sunday, I'm not really too sure. But in a limited role, he can do some good. He can do some good. I doubt we'll see him. I don't think we'll have a flu season on Sunday. I think it's going to be the Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis show. But I think that's a position of strength. A position of weakness right now, I think it's got to be the outside linebackers. I know it was reported today that Morgan, Landry, and Evans, they all got some, I think, individual work in with Brable. But like I mentioned earlier, will any of them play on Sunday? Who knows? Right now, the team's forced to rely on Arakpo, who's coming back from injury himself. And I believe Finch and Correa will be the guys on the opposite side. Depending on how it shakes out in Miami, I think we could potentially add some depth to the outside linebacker position after week 1. Possible options are John Simon and, I know I'm going to mess up this name, Hauali Kihaha. I can't really pronounce his name, but he was a guy who was released from the Saints. I wrote a piece about him. Those are names that could surface as potential roster additions to help for the time being. But once Morgan and Landry return to full health, I think the rotation will be pretty solid, and it will turn a position of weakness into a position of strength.
That sounds about right. See, I was thinking outside linebacker for my weaknesses as well, for my answer. So I'm just going to kind of piggyback on basically everything that you just said, because we don't have a whole lot of weaknesses as far as position-wise. And you're right, it's just depth. Like, if we get our starters back, then we're in great position as far as depth and rotation-wise goes. But as it stands right now, it's kind of scary. Like, it's not scary like start burning your jerseys or anything, but it's a little bit leery because it's obviously a very important position, and in Dean Pease's defense, it's pretty essential. My position of strength, though, is actually going to be defensive backfield. I really love our defensive backfield. I know there's a little bit of chemistry that still needs to develop with some new additions and with some younger guys and everything, but when you look at who we have, and it's hard to think that there's going to be a whole lot of passing yards allowed. I don't see it as happening. I really, really don't. I mean, you have the youngsters, you have two veterans who worked together previously in another team, and then you have some unknowns, or a little bit lesser knowns, I'll say it like that. A great combination of all of everything that could be brought to the table. So I actually really do enjoy our defensive backfield. So that's where I'm at.
All of us are interested to see how Kerry Coombs prepares these guys. It's going to be his debut in the regular season with his defensive backs. The talent's there, but I think the chemistry is still a work in progress. I think it's important you bring that up. Once these guys gel, I would say by week 5 or 6, closer towards the middle of the season, as long as health is not a concern, I think they're going to be one of the top defensive back groups in the league.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that's a stretch to say at all.
Let's move on to another question here. Let me see. Well, I guess we could jump into this one. It's from @Brian Nakashima. We'll just go with Brian. He asks, what's the carry split for week 1 between Henry and Lewis?
I think the easy answer is to say 50-50, but I do think that Henry will get a little bit more. So I would say probably about a 60-40 split, just because, he's obviously been there. He knows the team, the squad. He'll have a little bit more familiarity with where the offensive line is going to try and push people, and also they want to kind of see, like, okay, where are you at? Like, they want to test him to see where he's at for the rest of the season. So that's my main thought process on it, is they want to see what they have. And it seems like they're pretty confident in what they have with Dion Lewis. But if they make Henry the premier back and like the workhorse, how can they go through the rest of the season? And then that'll kind of give them a blueprint for the rest of the season. Like, okay, Henry's at this level, and we already know Lewis is at this level, so this is how we can kind of scheme for the rest of the season. That's my thought on it, though. I don't know. What do you think?
For me, I think it's too early to apply percentages in terms of the workload. I think the workload is going to vary throughout the season, and it's going to be game by game. I think the workload, and speaking about Sunday, is going to vary in the first half. But in the second half, the hot hand is who's going to get the lion's share of the touches, whether it be Henry or Lewis. And I think by the end of the game, Henry will likely lead in carries, but Lewis will probably lead in total touches, meaning, carryceptions. I know Lewis is more familiar in playing against the Dolphins due to playing them twice a year during his time in New England. Would I apply percentages? Probably not, but I think Henry leads in carries, Lewis leads in total touches by the end of the game.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point as well. I don't think you're wrong on that. Let's say it like that. That's a really good way to look at it. Yeah, because he's going to get more of the swing, play action, everything like that.
The dump-offs, yep.
Exactly. Okay, right on. All right, let's see who we have here, or what do we have here? I'm going to butcher your name, sir, and I am very sorry about that, but @Alan Leckie? ALLANLEQUE.
Leak. Maybe.
Leak.
I'm probably butchering it too, but
Lecque.
We apologize. We're trying our best, but Twitter handles are not easy to read. I butchered the one previously, so.
Leque. I don't know. He says, hey, how much PT playing time will Evans get in Game 1? Is he and Davis healthy enough to make an immediate impact in Game 1? Also, are the Titans sleeping on the Dolphins?
A three-part question.
A three-parter, so if you need me to repeat it, I can.
Okay. I think, as we kind of touched on earlier, Evans, he remains a mystery. It's all going to depend on how confident the coaching staff is in Evans' ability to avoid aggravating or re-injuring himself. It was reported that it was a hamstring injury after all, the mystery no more. But they're just being cautious with him after having gone through the Corey Davis debacle of the first half of the season last year. They're not going to risk it, at least not yet. Now, if it was a playoff game, that's a different story. They might chance it and put him out there, hoping that he can make a big play, but it's not. It's the season opener, and Evans will be more valuable to us later on in the year than in the opening weeks. Davis, by all reports, is healthy. I haven't seen anything that says he's not ready to go. I also mentioned earlier that I expect LaFleur to get Davis the ball early on those bubble screens, maybe some quick slants to build that confidence between him and Mariota. Will he have an immediate impact? Would scoring one touchdown be considered an immediate impact? I would think so. I would think if he scores one touchdown, that would be considered an immediate impact in Game 1. What was the last question that he asked?
Said, are the Titans sleeping on the Dolphins?
Are the Titans sleeping on the Dolphins? I don't think so. I don't think Vrabel will allow the team to have the time or to build that mentality of sleeping on anybody. At least that's the vibe I get from him. If him or if his staff notice any complacency or lack of effort during game prep week, I think he'll call him out on it. If it's up to Vrabel, he's not going to allow any team to be overlooked, regardless of the record, regardless of whatever the odds makers predict, even if it's at the end of the season and we're facing the 0-16 Colts. You know what I mean? Like, Vrabel's going to make sure we don't overlook anybody, because any given Sunday, man, any team can win.
No, I would agree with that. As far as how much playing time Evans will get in Game 1, I see kind of minimal. I mean, they're not going to rush him back unless they absolutely have to. They'll probably have him pretty far down on the depth chart if he even dresses at all. Like, if they need him, cool, but I don't see it as such a huge thing because our front line will be creating pressure, and, you know, our backfield will be able to clean that up, and we're not completely lacking at the linebacker room. Like, we still have serviceable and manageable players, so I don't see them rushing him out all that much. Davis, I think he will make a very good impact. I don't know if it necessarily has to even be a touchdown. You know, if he clears out the right routes and he runs the correct routes. I mean, you saw Mariota going to him on a few of those, 15 plus kind of pass plays.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to get on the same page. And even if he doesn't score any touchdowns, if he just kind of stretches the ball for more than 10, 15 yards in a given play, I think that's an immediate impact, definitely. And as far as the Titans sleeping on the Dolphins, I'm with you. I don't think Vrabel's going to let them sleep on anybody. I think exactly how you said it, any given Sunday. And he knows that if you walk into a game with a certain mentality, you're going to get popped right in the mouth. And I don't know his exact playing record, but I'm sure that's probably happened to him at least once or twice in his career. And he, as a coach, he's not going to let that happen.
Man, these are some good questions, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me pick one that we haven't asked that'll tie in. Let's see. Okay. This is from @DBS Porter. He's a guy I talked to on Twitter also. Unsung hero of this squad, both offense or defense.
Unsung hero. That's going to be hard.
Let's talk about what unsung means, bro. Like, it means somebody that's not really praised or doesn't get a lot of attention. So that might help us get our answers a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We're going to do offense and defense. I think for the offensive side, I think our guards. I think our guards will be unsung heroes. Because our tackles, everybody knows them. Everybody knows and loves Lawan, and even Conka-Truck. Everybody knows Conklin, and they know him and love him. Tight ends, I think our guards don't get a whole lot of love in, because even Ben Jones gets love. The whole line's been together for multiple years, and that's pretty rare. And they're just going to be really making some good room for our running backs, or some time for Mariota now that the chemistry's kind of been built up. So that's where I'm at on offense. As far as defense goes, I mean, that one's hard because our entire defense is solid, and they all get recognition. Not as much recognition as they deserve. I mean, Jarrell Casey's probably one of the best in the league, and he still gets overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd probably go Brown or Woodyard. I mean, everyone's going to be talking about Evans, and everyone's going to recognize every little thing he does. Backfield is so on the map. Everybody's going to be talking about them. Like I said, I mean, like you said, top 5 backfield, and our defensive line is good. I would say one of those linebackers, because they provide the depth, because they're not going to allow us to get burned over the middle and be, stopping the run after it gets past our line, but not yet quite to our backfield. So yeah, that would be where I'm at.
Those are some good choices, man. I think the unsung hero on offense, I'd have to partially agree with you. Mine's also on the offensive line, but I'm going to go with Dennis Kelly, and this is why. Right now, we don't know when Jack Conklin's going to return to the offense. It could be Sunday for all we know. It could be 4 weeks from now. They're not going to rush him back either. I know it was nice to see him in limited participation category today, so that's promising. I think Kelly could emerge as a great Band-Aid in Conklin's absence as long as he's not getting, crushed. Defensively, I'd agree with you on a linebacker, but my pick is going to be Jayon Brown. I think Brown will solidify himself as an every down backer by the season's end, mainly due to his skills in pass coverage. I think the Titans are going to benefit from his ability to cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. And I think his jump from year 1 to year 2 is going to be huge. But I think it's going to go unnoticed, like you said, once Evans is back in full force and playing behind Woodyard, even possibly playing behind Compton, although I would start Brown over Compton.
Yeah,
I think he's going to make a lot of plays. He might be top 3 in tackles, total tackles for the season, but I think he'll be one of the unsung heroes on defense.
Cool. So we're pretty in lockstep on those ones, and we haven't actually shared our answers, just for you guys wondering if we're just agreeing with each other back and forth. We know about the questions, but we haven't shared our answers, so we're just in agreement, and we think a lot alike. So we have 2 left. I'll hit you with this one from Rick, from @rberlin23 on Twitter. He said, do you think a successful season with the Titans will promote LaFleur to head coach, making us search for another offensive coordinator?
That's a really good question. I think the answer right now is it's hard to say. My guess is it's going to take 2 successful seasons before LaFleur is promoted to the head coach of another club. Now, I mean, if the offense goes out there and puts up 40 points a week, that obviously changes and increases the chances he finds employment elsewhere. And, it's the NFL. It's crazy. I do believe that the Titans are prepared for that type of scenario to play out and would hope that the quarterback's coach, Pat O'Hara, he'd be capable to take over and kind of keep the offensive system in place because losing another coordinator, it's going to hurt Mariota. It's the fact, bro. It's a fact, but it might be unavoidable if it's too successful offensively.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think he could, even if he had a mediocre season this year. I think there will likely be a team that would reach out to him and want him to be their head coach out of desperation. And if he wanted to make a bad decision, he could jump ship and go do that and be really hasty about it. Now, I think he's got a great opportunity to go 2-3 years, even if we don't put 40 points up a week and go crazy. I think he would benefit from staying for about 2 to 3 years, because not only is it consistency, but he is attached at the hip to a brand new head coach, and so he can see, the pitfalls, what to do, what not to do, and he can learn that for a few years until Vrabel's up and running, and then he can kind of not really piggyback or like draft off of what his process is, but he would be able to know what to do and what not to do from a straight first year head coach. So I would think he could go out the door next season, even if we don't blow it up, just because of, he's a highly sought after coordinator. People know him, and the coaching tree is ridiculous. I think he would benefit from staying about 3 years, and obviously Mariota would too, but I think if he was smart about it, he would stay in a position that he knows, that he loves, in a town and a team that loves him, that can be successful, And then if he wants to go in 3 years, I mean, nobody could blame him, and just wish him all the best kind of thing at that point.
I think if he does decide to leave next year, you got to think about what jobs are available. I could definitely see him as the guy in Denver. If Vance Joseph gets the boot, which he's on thin ice right now. I know his coaching seat's pretty hot. But I could also see him finding a job in maybe Kansas City. I know Andy Reid's there, but Andy Reid has its own, bittersweet history where he has the talent, but sometimes he can't get him far as many would expect. You think about the talent that Kansas City has on the roster. You got a developing prospect like Patrick Mahomes. I can see the AFC West, 2 teams in there being very intriguing if those spots open up for LaFleur.
Yeah, I thought about that, and Marvin Lewis is still at the Bengals, right?
Marvin Lewis is going to retire a Bengal, man. He's
Yeah. That was my first thought of because it's always year to year, well, maybe not. And if they were to, because they have good pieces. They have really good pieces. And if they wanted to just say, okay, we have the opportunity to get a young up and coming and promote him to head coach, that would be my first guess, would be the Bengals. So.
Oh, yeah. And then, but you didn't hear they're going to change their name next season to the Cincinnati Marvins?
I did not. No, I did not get that Bleacher Report update.
The paperwork is in, man.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all, actually. No, I didn't know that. All right, how many questions we got left?
All right, we got one more question, man, and this one's a good one. It's from Cole at CFlatland96. How much do you think the Titans media members affect the fans' perception of Mike Vrabel? Can they sway fans against him for having different policies than past coaches?
All right. Yeah, this is an interesting one because media can sway perspective on a lot of things. And
outside of football, right?
Outside of football, and I'm trying to speak as general as possible because people tune in for sports, and I genuinely am trying to give a sports answer, but it's just fact that media can sway perspective on almost any given issue, no matter if you have one particular news program that you watch over the other, if you have one newspaper that you read over the other, it's just the same as in football if you have one reporter that you listen to over the other. It's their perspective, and they can kind of not really twist it, but they can really just say things in a way to kind of make you emit the emotion that they're trying to get. So yes, I definitely think they can sway fans against him for having different policies than past coaches. I think the reporters that do their job really, really well will be able to separate fact from opinion, and whenever they're able to do that, it's just these are the facts, they're not disclosing this, my personal opinion is this. But whenever they start combining the two, that's when I turn that media member off or mute them or not really care, because it's no, you need to be able to separate these two so that way I can make my own opinion based on the facts that you're reporting. But if you're just reporting opinions, then your facts are invalid, essentially. So they can affect the perception of Vrabel as well. They can report what he says and then put a little thing at the very end of it where you're just nah, I don't really like that, I don't agree with that, but it's just because that information was fed to you in a very particular kind of way. The media members that are very factual and then very opinionated, because you can have both. Teron Davenport, he is very opinionated, but he separates his opinions from his facts. He'll report straight facts and then he'll have straight opinions, and that is the perfect way of doing it, because I may not always agree with his opinions, but I have to accept his facts. It's just the way it is, and that's not how some people report. They'll say it like that.
Adding Teron in there, I think you really pointed out the difference in reporting fact and reporting opinion. I think he does a great job of that, and I think he mentioned it to us on the podcast that towards the end of this, or towards the middle of the season, there's going to be some low points that he's going to have to report on, and some people might be salty about it, but he's going to be honest, and you can't dispute his facts, like you said. So I think that's fair, man. And I think to piggyback off of what you said, I think it's a fair statement to say the media members can have somewhat of an influence, but I don't think it's always intentional. I think some media members have a hard time hiding their frustrations with the policy changes, and this is just talking specifically about the Titans and Vrabel, whether it be in their tone of reporting or whether they just flat out bluntly make statements that express their dislike for Vrabel's style or his policies. I mean, we rely on the media to provide us with every single granule of information about our team. We yearn for it. But to let the media influence perception of Vrabel, in my opinion, it shouldn't happen. It's not really fair. I mean, the guy's there to coach a football team. He's not there to be the media's best friend. You know what I mean? He's going to have his way of doing it. And until it proves to not work or have a negative impact on the success of the team, I don't think you should let the media sway your opinion. It's hard, but I think it also depends on who you're going to your information for.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and we hired Vrabel as a head coach, not the PR guy for the Titans.
Yes.
And so I am fine with him coaching the team. And if you don't like the way he's coming across or some of the public relations angles that he's taking, that's fine. But know that he's not there to be a public relations guru or anything like that. He's just coaching the team the best way he can see fit. If you want the politically correct answer and like a way of smoothing it over and curving it, then find out who the public relations officer is for the Titans and follow them instead. Like that's about all I got on that one.
Yeah, those are some really great questions. Thank you again to everybody for submitting those to us. I hope we get a handful more. I'm sure we will, because there's going to be a lot of reactionary questions following the game. Hopefully they're positive. Hopefully we're not here ranting next week when we record the recap and the preview for week 2. But for me, Lito, I don't got really anything else to add, man. I'm hopeful that we come out of Miami with a win.
All right. Well, wrapping up, guys. Really appreciate all of the fan feedback. Want to, again, thank our Time with the Titans fan that we had on, a sports junkie, Miss Donna. We're going to send you off with that interview. And just kind of obviously subscribe to Mo on Twitter, myself, and Donna. She puts out some really good feedback. And, we'll catch up with you guys next week. And like you said, hopefully have a good recap.
Yeah, I love talking with Donna, and next week we'll have somebody else. Donna was great. She's going to be a hard act to follow. You guys are really going to enjoy the next segment. We even talked about bringing her on regularly. That's a possibility because she just spit so much knowledge at us. It was more than what I expected, but I'm grateful for her, allowing us to talk with her for a little bit, talk Titans, something we love to do. And she had some very interesting takes and a really funny story there at the tail end of it. So thank you, Donna, again. Like Lito said, follow her at A Sports Junkie. What else is there left to say but tighten up?
Tighten up.
Follow us on Twitter at Titans Southwest. And remember to like and subscribe to the podcast, as well as review and share.
All right, everybody. This is going to be the first installment of our 10 Minutes with a Titans Fan. With us, we have one of our longtime followers and supporters. We have Miss Donna, calling straight from Tennessee. How you doing, Donna?
Doing fantastic. Great to be with you guys.
Well, we're excited to have you. Lito, what do you got to add?
Oh, man, it's so great to speak with you, Donna. I'm really excited. You were one of the first that expressed interest in wanting to join us for this segment, so we definitely had to start it off right. You like we said before, I mean, you've been with us from probably one of the first few, so we definitely want to reach out and show our appreciation and just kind of pick your brain a little bit about the Titans and, how you came to be a Titans fan, what you see this season, and just talk Titans. I mean, let's just talk Titans. That's what I'm excited about.
Oh, absolutely. What better topic can we have?
I have no idea.
I was just thinking, just from the onset, I had to tell you guys because I'm fairly new to the Twitterverse, as you probably from my Twitter handle, you noticed I only joined in 2017. And so you, Mo, are one of my first people. You and then Lito with Titans of the Southwest are one of my first interactions. I remember you kind of talking me off the ledge after a really bad loss. I was new to the Twitterverse, and I'm admittedly an emotional fan, and so I didn't realize, and I was just going with the flow of the game and the ups and downs and tweeting everything. And I think, Mo, you were the one, with the Tighten Up hashtag was how we got connected, and you were kind of like, oh, it's okay, calm down, it's all good, next week it'll be fine, they'll come back. I thought, oh my gosh, this person's so positive. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Okay, and then I kind of just, clued in from that to then Lito's account. And so I just always remember that being so, it was just a fond memory because, as you know, there's not a lot of positivity on Twitter oftentimes. And so it was just so nice. I thought, great, someone's bonding with me over this team that, that we have huge fandom of. So,
Well, that's so cool to hear that story. I mean, with me, I've been with the team through all the ups and downs, as you know, and I found it's just a lot easier to stay positive even through the crappy times because, every week is another opportunity to get a win.
That's true. Very true. And I had to learn that. I'd like to say that I have matured as a fan and I have grown. I'm trying to to bridle that a little bit. But so I definitely can see that for sure. But yeah, early on I thought, oh my goodness, I just have to stay off Twitter for a little bit. I've got to tame myself down a little bit. So I appreciate that just from the onset. Thank you guys, because it was really nice. It was so nice to connect, which then connected me to so many other people that had either were following you or vice versa. So it's been a really super.
Yeah, I think the fan base is pretty balanced on Twitter. I think there's two ends of the spectrum. On one end, you'll find the extremely pessimistic and, all hope is lost. And then on the other side, you'll find the positive. I'd like to think me and Lito are a little bit in the middle, maybe slightly towards the positive end of it. What would you say, Lito?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you got to stay positive. Like, you got to be realistic, but definitely got to stay positive, or else you're just going to, be rocking yourself to sleep in the fetal position in the corner, every single week. So, but, not everybody's as nice as we are. So that's awesome. It's really cool to hear that kind of interaction. This is like the first interaction we've had with, I guess, like a follower, really, like someone who just follows us for us. And so that's amazing. Yeah. So, I kind of want to, I'm kind of curious, Titans, obviously you're in Tennessee, and so I'm assuming that's why you became a fan, but is there like a particular story behind it? Was there anything that just a light bulb went off and you're like, oh, these are my guys, like I'm going to follow them, how did that come about?
That's so funny that you used the term the light bulb moment, because that's exactly what it was. When I grew up, my family, my mom and dad, have both passed, but when they were alive, I would like to think that they would be the kings and queens of the fantasy football world back in the 80s. They loved football. So we had football on Saturday, Sunday, Monday night. It was college ball, pro ball. We lived in Tennessee, so they did not particularly have a team that they were, just absolute followers of. They just really liked particular players, and then they would like the matchup, and they would bet with their friends, and they would bet with their coworkers. And so I kind of think that they would have loved nowadays about the whole fantasy football thing. So they always had football on, and honestly, by the time I was a teenager, I was over it. I thought, oh my goodness, can we not watch something different on TV? I was just, it was awful. I thought, really, I'm just sick to death of football. And then all of a sudden, I'm, in my early 20s, and, Bud Adams brings pro football to Tennessee, and all of a sudden the light bulb, that passion came back, and I thought, this is my team. This is awesome. It's in my backyard, and this new stadium's built, and there was such a great swell of just support for the team. I'll be honest, that first year or two that they were here and they played at Memphis and then Vandy, I did not get on the train at that time, but I think once the stadium was built and we could see it and be there, it was so fun. I had never been to a professional football game in my life, so it was so much fun, and so that started it all. It was kind of like, oh my goodness, I went crazy. I've got Titans stuff everywhere in my house, and it's, became a complete fangirl. So yeah, definitely the light bulb went off, and that was my team. It has been from that moment on. So basically the 99 season, which, by the way, wasn't a bad season to get on board, right?
No, not at all.
pretty darn good season. So
yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, it's always interesting hearing people's stories and how they came about it. So that's great. That's a great story. Talk to them like they sound like really, really awesome football people, and there's no better people than football people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think we're so fortunate. I hope Tennessee never takes for granted the fact that we have a professional team, because it is just something that not every city has. clearly in state, and it's helped our city so much and our state so much that it's just amazing what it can do. And, you watch the Nashville Predators, you watch the Titans to see what's happened, and it's a luxury, and I'm so grateful for it. And so I don't ever want to take it for granted. Even though there were some pretty lean years there, for a little while, it's kind of hard, but I've always stuck through them. Anytime when I've thought, okay, this is it. I'm giving up the license plates. I'm giving up this. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm just, they're stuck with me for life. So
That's awesome.
So with that being said, Donna, what would you say is your favorite Titans memory?
Oh my goodness. There's too many. I was not at the game at the Music City Miracle, but I was at home watching with a room full of people. That was, super fun. Gosh, there's just been so many here and there. That's a tough one. I can't pick out just one because
it's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't think there's one necessarily during the season that sticks out to me.
Would you say you have a recency bias? Like, I guess, what was your favorite moment from last season? Maybe that'll make it a little bit easier.
Well, I loved it, the fact that we beat Jacksonville twice. I don't think, and the infamous, stiff arm from Marcus, that was awesome. So that was great. I mean, obviously the Kansas City win, that's what I should say. That was really cool. But I don't have PSLs, I don't have season tickets, but I do go to select games, so I'll do kind of individually. I really enjoyed, and I think this was actually 2 years ago, it was one of the Thursday Color Rush games against the Jaguars, of course, and I sat in the end zone, and I believe it was the south end zone, and so Derrick Henry came and had a couple of touchdowns, I believe, in that game, and he was just right in front of me, and it was just awesome. It was just
so
awesome.
Cool.
Because I have to say that Jacksonville fans, when they come to Nashville and they're in the stadium, they are so obnoxious. I hope I don't offend anybody, but they're so obnoxious. And so I was really surrounded by Jacksonville people, and so it was really nice. We both times I went, the Titans won, so it was nice.
Oh, yeah, and I remember that Thursday night game, too. I think we slaughtered them. Like, I don't even think Mariota played the fourth quarter because we were up by so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great.
Yeah.
My second and last question for you, Donna, is going to unfortunately be, what is your least favorite Titans memory?
I think probably when they locked Steve McNair out of the building. When that whole, to me, I kind of feel like everything started going south from that point on. It's just kind of been a slow bleeding wound from then on. And whether it was management, whether it was, when Bud was still in charge or what have you. But I just thought as a fan, just being so passionate about supporting the team and seeing as much as Steve had done for the team and just all the heartache that he had gone through and the pain and punishment, I thought to be so callous. I know it's a business, but I just couldn't get over that. I couldn't get over seeing Steve play in purple, for the race. I just couldn't get over it. And I think there's many other heartbreaking moments, obviously, but to me, that was kind of that first one, that sting of, wow, this is a business, this is professional sports, and this is hardcore because it's brutal. I thought someone who meant so much to your franchise to lock them out, and then essentially, of course, we had Vince Young and Steve went to Baltimore. So that was one of my most first painful memories, I think.
Wow, that's a really good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's painful because it's interesting that you chose that moment instead of an on-field moment, because I think you hit something when you said that's when the slow bleeding kind of started. I am still a little bit resentful that they locked Steve out because in my mind, we had just drafted Vince, and I was of the assumption that McNair was going to mentor, let him stay a season on the sidelines and kind of learn and tutor him and help him develop. But instead, we just got a total whirlwind opposite, where all of a sudden somebody who left it all out there on the field is now in our former AFC Central rival jersey, and now Vince is just projected into the lineup. I don't know. I still don't understand that.
I don't either. It's so painful, and the GM can talk all his way around it at the time as possible. It will never make sense to me, And I know Bud Adams didn't always make the greatest decisions. I don't really know where the blame lies there, but to me, I think that turned a lot of fans off, obviously. How could it not turn off some of your players, just the buy-in factor? And then I think from then on, we lived through the Vince Young time, the highs and lows, that rookie season. You think, oh, okay, this is great. And by year 2, you're realizing this marriage is not going to work. And that went south really quickly. And then that led kind of to the whole demise of the Jeff Fisher, and then we kind of went to Mike Munchak, and it just kind of it really got stale. And unfortunately for Tennessee fans, because I feel like a lot of the Houston Oilers fans, unlike you guys, some chose to stay Texans fans, or they kind of jumped ship to somebody else. They didn't necessarily follow the Titans. So I feel like a lot of the new fan base here during those lean years, they didn't necessarily want to stick it out. They didn't want to kind of support the team. And all of a sudden you started seeing the stadium wasn't as full, and it wasn't as loud. And back in those early years, we were the loudest stadium in, of all the 32 teams, and it was awesome. We were so proud of that, and it would just be full, and just year by year, you saw that dwindle and dwindle. Clearly the record and the product on the field, but it just never regained that type of magic, from that time. And people who were not necessarily all bought in, they left, or they wouldn't show up, or the passion kind of started to dwindle. And then we lived through the Ken Wisenhunt era, which thank God short-lived, but long enough to be painful. My only saving grace to him was that he brought Marcus Mariota to us, so I'll forgive him for that. But I don't want to go on a tangent. But yeah, I feel like that. I really think that now we're kind of on the uphill swing, and so with John, and of course with Miss Amy Adams Strunk kind of coming back, handling business, and I feel like things are back into order, and you can kind of see that swell of support is coming back. So that's so nice to see.
What a great answer.
Yeah, definitely. Jeez, that's awesome.
I can talk football all night, so you guys just have to cut me off or something.
No, you're okay. We'll start doing like 30 minutes with Miss Donna. We'll make that like a segment. That's awesome.
You'll have your own segment.
Yeah. That's so great. So like my kind of question is, so looking forward to this season, what do you expect from this season? Whether it be win-loss record or just particular goals, or what are you kind of looking out for, and what do you expect for this upcoming season?
So I'm very proud of myself that this year was the first year I became a sophisticated fan. I didn't care for once in my life about what the record was for preseason. I used to get wrapped up into that and think that was something special. So I was very proud of myself. I put that aside, didn't care what the record was. I just really watched position by position and wanted to see how the coaches, how the players were responding. And so I thought, that was good. That was an improvement for myself. And I just don't know, win-loss record, I have not gone out on a limb to say. I kind of don't know what to expect, and I'm excited about that because it's almost like I don't have a preconceived notion. I want to say that we're going to go back to the playoffs. We're going to win a playoff game. I think we're completely talented to do that. But I think the X factor is we just don't know, with the new coach and the new OC. I don't know. I'm anxious and excited, and I hope that it all comes together. I want Corey Davis to do well. I really want to see him improve and elevate his game and do well. I'm anxious to see Tajay Sharp, to see how we never really got an opportunity to, see him obviously last year. So I'm anxious for that. There's so many. You can go down the list, right? But I'm just curious, and I think the third thing probably is just, I don't know for you guys, but I think, Mo, we might have corresponded on a post back months ago. When Mike Mularkey, I feel like he was a great coach for the moment to kind of get us back into line and get us into gear, but I never felt like he had command when he spoke, or he was not articulate. He didn't really exude confidence to me. I'm sure he's a super nice guy. I've met him a couple of times at the stadium at different events, and he was super nice, but just when you listen to him, and one thing I've noticed about Vrabel is that he's definitive. You know, he's firm. It's you can tell how he can command. He's very confident. And so whether it's right or wrong, I don't know how that's going to play out, but I can see how everybody gravitates to follow him, because you almost feel like he's going to demand that you win, or he's going to demand that you do your job with, also being fair. Whereas with Mularkey, a couple of those wins, I don't know if you guys remember, but he would literally had his head in his, between his knees, like, thank God, like, oh, yeah. I can't believe we won. Wow, I'm so grateful that worked. Almost like he didn't really think it would work. And I feel like you've got to have, a certain amount of confidence. And I don't know whether Vrabel, hopefully it won't be too much. Hopefully he can have a good balance. And I think if he can have a good balance and do what we hope that he can do, I think it'll be a great thing.
I think you put it perfectly there. I think with Mularkey, we got about as the extent that he could provide being the head coach. I think, Marcus taking over the play calling kind of covered up his deficiencies as a coach. And I think with Vrabel, he is more firm, he is more defined, and I think he has that experience both as a player and having worked with great coaches to know what it takes to elevate the team to the next level. Now, does he do that in the first year? I don't know yet. I'm hopeful that he can, but it's going to be, there will be some growing pains throughout the season, but I think he's a better leader than Mularkey was. But I am grateful to Mularkey for helping with the culture part of it.
Right. I agree. I think they definitely needed that for sure. That had been lost, and so it was nice to see that that's turned around and I think going in the right direction.
That's awesome, Miss Donna. I don't know if I could have said it any better, to be completely honest with you. That's great. Well, yeah, that's so awesome to connect with you and kind of pick your brain about it. I don't have anything else on that, Mo. Do you have anything else?
No, I just want to thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts, and I feel enlightened myself. I mean, hearing it from somebody who's in the state, it really does shed more light on what the situation with the team is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely. I do have one funny story I have to share with you guys.
Yeah.
Whether you want to include it or not is totally up to you. But what's so funny is that, so my husband, as y'all have probably known, he is totally not a non-sports person, right? He doesn't follow football. He's not, but he'll support me in anything. So I drag him to the games. I drag him everywhere. He's like, as long as I can drink beer and have fun, he's good. So, he'll support me and he'll scream with me on Sunday. But what's great is, like the 2011, 2012-ish year, my friend was a wedding planner. She gets us a hotel at the Lowe's Vanderbilt Hotel in Nashville. And so I did not know this at the time. We spent the Saturday night, got up, went to the game on Sunday. Well, unbeknownst to me, that's the team's hotel. So the Titans were there. And we're up in our room after dinner, and my husband smokes. So he goes downstairs, and I get this random call from him, and he's like, you've got to come down here immediately. Right now, you've got to come down here. I thought, what are you talking about? I'm not, and he's a jokester. He constantly pranks me. So I thought, what are you talking about? He said, no, really? I'm standing right beside Chris Johnson. I said, no, that is crazy. You're not. So we went back and forth for several minutes. He finally talks me into coming downstairs. I kid you not. I ride the elevator. I open up. There's Bud Adams rocking across the hotel lobby with his bright, Oilers blue, Columbia blue, whatever you want to call it, leisure suit from head to toe, I kid you not, strolling across with the walker, in the lobby. And Mike Munchak was the coach. He's at the gift shop buying snacks, and I'm surrounded by Titans players. And I'm a fangirl. I have to admit, I wish I was more sophisticated. I'm not. I'm a complete fangirl. So I'm freaking out. And I thought, he's not kidding. This is the team. I had no idea the team stayed there. And so I go get a drink at the bar, I sit in the chair in the lobby, and I swear I just sit there and watch all the players come and go. It's like I'm watching, superstars or something. It's hysterical. My husband's like, don't you want to do something different? No, I'm just going to sit here and watch all the players. They were coming and going. They went and had their dinner. And of course, as my husband says, I vapor lock. I can't. It's like I get this fangirl moment. I can't speak when I meet players or I get their autograph. It's the most ridiculous thing ever, but I guess it's because you watch them on TV and, anyway, you're such a fan of them. So now I just sat and watched them, and so I get in the elevator to go back, and all of a sudden the elevator opens, and Cortland Finnegan and Michael Griffin get on the elevator.
Oh.
And you talk about eyeballs popping, and so it's us four on the elevator, and my husband's like, hey, that's your people, isn't that your team? And I'm like over there trying to tell him to hush, and so they're looking at me, and they speak, and they say, oh, hi, hello. I couldn't even get words out of my mouth. I was so ridiculous. I just looked at my husband punched me finally, and he said, don't worry about it. She's a huge fan. Her name's Donna. She really likes you guys, and she just vapor logs.
How cool is that?
He's like, hey, hi, fan Donna. It's okay. And I was just like, oh, my God. I was dying on the inside. I couldn't believe I was such a dork. The elevator with Cortland and them. And sure enough, and my husband sits and has a casual conversation with Chris Johnson before he gets the valet. And I'm thinking, how cool is this? My night was made. But anyway, that's just one of my funny stories. But I couldn't believe that's what that we had tripped across that. Total happenstance. I had no idea.
That's an awesome story.
That's so great. I would have been fangirling out myself, too. Don't worry.
Same here.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have... Yeah, no, I don't know if I would have vapor locked or ran up and just tried to talk to them or what, but I would have been fangirling out too. Just so happy. When the next time I go to Tennessee and if I'm at a random hotel and the door opens and it's John Robinson, I'm just gonna give him a hug. It's just how I'm wired. I don't know, but I don't feel bad at all. I get it.
That make me feel so much better because my husband kept begging me when Mike Munchak was in the gift shop. He kept saying, just go up and ask him for an autograph. But apparently there's an unspoken rule that you're really supposed to leave them alone in their team hotel. And I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be that person that went up and made the spectacle of myself. So I thought, okay, I've got to play it cool here. But I so wish I would have. I just thought I should have just went for it.
Well, I think that's part of the appeal behind Tennessee, too, because you hear the players that come from bigger markets and they say, people are really cool. They just kind of leave you alone and they say hi. And so, I get that and you want to keep that status quo. But, if it's, your favorite person on the team, it's probably going to be your only shot to do something about it. So I wouldn't fault you for it.
I appreciate that. Thank goodness I got you guys' seal of approval.
Oh, that's definitely. Well, Miss Donna, we really appreciate you joining us for this inaugural, time with the Titans fan. And, you're on Twitter at a sports junkie, soon to be a sports fan Donna 1-0. Soon. We'll be there soon.
I like how you think.
I'm always thinking positive.
I like it.
Just to echo what Lito said, thanks, Donna, for joining us. Really enjoyed talking with you. Finally, like you said, put a voice to the Twitter handle. Look forward to tweeting at you during the season.
Yes, thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure. This has been a blast, and anytime.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And, guys, we'll be kind of connecting with fans all throughout the season, but definitely Miss Donna, first one, and so far the best one, for sure. Definitely.
Hey, only one. You can just be the best. That's awesome. Tighten up, guys. Wait.
All right, Miss Donna, tighten up, man.
Thanks. Take care, guys.
All right, you too.
Tighten up.
Bye.